The last domain, domain number 5, covers leadership. And these are the managerial and leadership skills you need to be a health information and health informatics professional. First, you want to make sure that you're familiar with each of the managerial functions and what they mean. Planning, organizing, leading, those are very familiar to you, I'm sure, but make sure you also understand controlling, because in regular English, controlling can have a very negative attribute connected to it, especially when you're talking about a manager's behavior. But we're not talking about abusive, look over your shoulder kind of controlling behavior in this particular case. Also, you want to look at the stages of transition, because in healthcare as well as in technology, so of course in healthcare technology, things are constantly evolving. And your job, or part of your job as the manager of this department, will be to help your staff members through those transitions, helping them get over a fear of change, helping them get over worrying about this is the way I've always done it, and their fear of not being able to learn the new way to do things, and bringing them to that point of excellence on the other side of the learning curve and the transition curve. Workflow, of course, is incredibly important, because we not only must be efficient in the way we ourselves complete our assigned tasks, we, again, as the managers, must make sure the entire process of how work goes through our department. And remember, we're information. Everything in a hospital goes through us at some point in time. So it's important to make sure that we are working toward optimal efficiency and well-designed workflows. And remember, as you look at this workflow pattern diagram, for example, this can help you see what it might look like physically. But remember that we also now must keep into consideration workflow that takes an invisible path, a cyber path, if you will, between one individual in the organization and another individual in the organization, and possibly external sources or external destinations, and then have it come back, like a third-party payer or something like that. So why did I show you that diagram? Because it is part of your responsibility to be able to not only create diagrams, understand diagrams given to you, but take a look at these symbols. This was the best I could do, and you also have some information on this in your Oates Waters textbook. Understand this, the symbols, okay? I can remember a question on my RHIA that said the diamond, the sideways diamond on a process diagram means, and then gave me four answers, because multiple choice. But you have to be able to remember that the sideways diamonds means a decision is being made, and that decision could be yes or no or whatever, okay? So, review. HR management activities. Oh, I've heard students say, well, I'm going to work in a hospital and they have an HR department, so therefore I don't need to know this stuff. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. All right. Yes, the HR department are human resources professionals who know how to manage hiring, firing, staff, benefits, etc. However, you also must be familiar with this. Why? First of all, you're responsible for the staffing of your own department in conjunction with HR or separately, depending upon the facility in which you work. Or you might work in a small facility where it's you need somebody new. Good. Create the ad, do the interviews, do the background checks, hire them, and thank you very much. So you must be familiar with all of these bulleted points that are aspects of human resource management activities, and you must be able to answer questions regarding them, because there is a good chance there's going to be at least one on your test. And trust me, do not give away any points. Training is also something that is a very important part of what the health information management department does for the rest of the facility. We are responsible for doing on-the-job training, not only for our coders, our billers, our analysts, our clinical documentation improvement specialists, but for everyone in the facility possibly. We have to do training on HIPAA. We have to do training on documentation improvement for the physicians and other clinicians. We have to do training on a new EHR or a CPOE or other technology that's coming in. There's a lot that we have to do. And of course, we have to make sure that continuing education is being provided or offered, or at least encouraged and tracked for our staff members, and career development. So you must be familiar with these things. In training, you want to make sure that you can identify your audience and make sure that you can create a training program that is applicable to them. Make sure that you are not forcing people to sit in your audience in your training and say, what do I need to know this for? This has nothing to do with my job. Yeah, you have to know that and give them what they need. Strategic management is, of course, very important. And when you get to be the head of the HIM department and you sit on the executive board for the facility, you must understand how to create strategies and understand where the organization and the staff is going in the future. And if you say, well, that won't be for 10 years yet. Well, no, because the minute you cross the threshold as a staff member, you are required to participate in meeting the objectives of the strategic plan. So now is the time for you to understand all of the parts about this, so you can not only help work to fulfill, you can be ready to create the vision of the future for your facility. Skills of strategic managers. Oh, yes. You need to understand what all of these actions involve and what you need to know about them, not only to answer correctly on the RHIA National Certification Exam, but to answer correctly in your interview and to answer correctly when you have to decide what to do next. So you have to be able to monitor industry trends, reflect, consider the impact, consider strategic course, help others to visualize, implement and measure strategic plans effectively, question the status quo. Oh my God. My number one pet peeve is, well, but that's the way we've always done it. Ugh. Okay, lead innovative change and be self-reflective and a lifelong learner. And you know what? If you're going to work in healthcare, and I don't care who you are or what position you hold, I don't care if you're in a one-physician office or a huge hospital with multi-campuses, you need to be a lifelong learner because everything changes. Sources of financial data. You need to understand where you're going to get the numbers from so you can make sure that you can collect the data with regard to finances. Remember, health information and health informatics, we're the department that has our hand on the revenue spigot into the building, into the facility, and if we do not do our jobs well, the money just isn't going to be there. And you have to understand how financial data is used, because money touches everything. Yeah, you already know that, right? Financial statements. Yes, you may actually have to read one or make a calculation based on one on the test. Yes, they put you a little image or a table that has some of the information of a financial statement, and you have to answer the questions based on the financial statement. So don't skip this. Make sure that you review this and understand who, what, where, when, why, and how. And ratio analysis, liquidity, debt service, current ratio. These are terms you must understand. More debt ratio. God. Profitability, return on investment. I think I actually remember a question on debt ratio on my RHIA. Okay, and also please remember that ROI can mean return on investment, and in our department, it can also mean release of information. So make sure to read all of your questions carefully. Do not assume, do not, I know what it's asking, and jump to the answers. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And ethics. Now, you learned a lot about this in your law and ethics class, I know, and there is a lot to be said about behaving ethically, and this is very important, but I'm going to give you a little hint here. From what I have seen in practice exams as well as actual exams and what I've heard and yada, 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 usually the question you're going to be asked that's specifically directed to this is specifically directed to the AHIMA Code of Ethics. It's on the AHIMA website. Make sure you read through it. The Code of Ethics is very important to your membership in AHIMA. And remember, this test is sponsored by AHIMA. So they are going to make sure that you are familiar with the ethical obligations that they determine to be most important. You also want to make sure that you understand what happens when you witness non-ethical violations, and this does not have to be a violation by a member of AHIMA. It can be anybody. And project management is also a part of your overall responsibilities and tasks as a manager. So this also is important that you understand the structure of project management, what the project scope tells you, what the project plan includes, and of course, project resources as needed. Contract management is also part of your purview. It will be, especially when it comes to using business associates for data processing, data analysis. Your facility might use an external third-party billing service. Whatever it might be, you need to understand that this is part of the revenue life cycle. And you need to understand about negotiating contract terms, what is important, and what to do in the process of making a decision. In addition to contract management, you will also need to understand how your patients will be treated, how this compares with your competitors and the local market, and also understanding language and rates, language of the contract, not language as in English, Spanish, French. Contract management also is going to include a contract life cycle, because everything has a life cycle. Okay, so you need to make sure that you understand the whole steps and processes of this contract. Once this contract is executed, it's it. And then it becomes a big legal aspect of your entire career. Enterprise information management is also part of your responsibility. So make sure you understand both organizational disciplines as well as information governance. And if you're unsure, there's information in your Oates Waters textbook as well as on the AHIMA website. EIM, Enterprise Information Management, components include all of these things: access, security, integrity, quality, design, records management, analysis, use, exchange. Wow, we're very busy and very knowledgeable people, aren't we? So get ready to prove it by sitting for your RHIA. All right, this was the last domain. You have questions? Please post to your RHIA exam prep discussion forum and we can discuss them, talk them out so you know what the right thing is. And you'll be ready to succeed.